Welcome to today's webinar. Are you ready to apply for federal funding? This webinar is being hosted by the Eastern Region Training and Technical Assistance Center, and we are a resource of the Administration for Native Americans. This webinar is also being recorded, so if you would like to revisit it or just check on it or read it, watch it again, it will be available on our website in approximately 2 weeks. So before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's webinar. You should see a control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. It might be towards the upper right. One thing to note is that when you came into the webinar, you entered in the muted mode. And again, that's because we're recording this webinar. If you were able to use your volume and speak, it would oftentimes create feedback. So everyone is joining this webinar muted. If you have dialed in by phone, select telephone on the control panel and enter the audio PIN number, and that will help eliminate echoing. We have several handouts today on this webinar. If you look at your control panel, there is a section called Handouts, and there should be 4 documents there. One of them is the handout of the PowerPoint slides for this presentation. There is also a Grants.gov guide. There is a quick start guide for SAM registration, and there's also a data collection sheet for SAM. You can go ahead and click those documents and download them or print them out. We are going to have a question and answer period at the end of this webinar. You can go ahead and type in questions as you think about them into the control panel, and then at the end I will go through them all and answer them. Let me introduce myself. My name is Candy Carmi, and I'm a Technical Assistance Specialist with the Eastern Region Training and Technical Assistance Center. I'm from the Oneida Nation. We are one of 4 regional technical assistance centers that provides assistance to administration for Native Americans, applicants, and grantees. So there is a counterpart of ours over in the Western region. There's also a TA center in Alaska, and there's one in the Pacific region. I have contact information for those centers at the end of this webinar. So today's webinar is really for those of you who are brand new to submitting an application for federal funding. I think a lot of times when we think about having to upload or submit information on the internet, we're thinking, gee, it's technology. It should be fast. It should be easy. You go onto a website, you maybe create a username and a password and enter some basic information, and you're ready to go. You can upload and enter information, and it's relatively quick. Unfortunately, Grants.gov takes a little bit longer to get registered with. We recommend that you start if you do not have a Grants.gov registration and your organization is relatively new or you haven't submitted for federal awards before. We recommend that you start this process probably for at least 4 to 6 weeks before the applications are due. And I'll talk a little bit about the ANA competition towards the end of this webinar. Right now, the projected due dates, and this is, again, just a projection, is the first week of March. Again, that is just an estimated date. So you do have time if you get started now. So today we're going to go over how to get a DUNS number, how to register with the System for Award Management, and then we're going to go over Grants.gov registration. Again, towards the end, I'll talk a little bit about the ANA upcoming competition, and I'll conclude with a question and answer period. So let's get started. A DUNS number, DUNS is an acronym for Data Universal Numbering System, and it's issued by Dun & Bradstreet. Now, Dun & Bradstreet is not a federal entity. It is a private organization, but they are the ones that you are going to submit your request to receive a DUNS number. It is a 9-digit location-specific identification number. So what do I mean by that? If you have an organization that maybe has 2 different businesses, locations in 2 different areas, you might have 2 different DUNS numbers. One thing that's kind of interesting about a DUNS number is once you apply for a DUNS number, it sticks with you forever. Even if your organization ceases to be in existence or your business closes, that DUNS number is still assigned to your organization. In order to apply for federal grants or contracts, you have to have a DUNS number. And it is a free process. There is no charge for registering to get a DUNS number. So let's take a look at how you go about getting one. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the website that's up on your screen, http://fedgov.dnb.com/webform. When you get to this site, you're going to click here to request your DUNS number via the web, and that's where that little pink arrow is. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go to that drop-down arrow. The first drop-down there should be United States, and you just click that and hit continue. There's an interim information screen between that step and this step. I'm not going to show you that information screen because you don't do anything. But when you get to this screen, you want to select Find DUNS or Request New DUNS and hit Start Now. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to enter your business name, your city, and then you're going to select the drop down for your state and hit Search. So what it's doing is it's looking to see if maybe somebody registered you before, or if your business is already set up in the system. It goes and checks it for you. Once you enter that information, you're going to see this screen, and up on the right-hand side of your screen, underneath the Step 1 area, it says the company name entered was not found in our database. If that's the result that you get, then you are going to need to create a DUNS number. So you go down to the bottom of the screen and select Request a DUNS number. The information that you need to provide for getting a DUNS number is pretty basic information. I have it up on your screen. It's basically your business name and your address, and if you do business as any other names, you're going to put your telephone number and your contact name and title. Note that I have email address highlighted, and there's a reason for that. DUNS is not going to mail you your registration number. They're going to email you your, once you get your DUNS number, they're going to email you what your DUNS number is. So you want to make sure that you don't go zipping through this process and incorrectly enter your email address, because you're not going to receive anything then. And I'm going to harp on this a lot because I know people who have done this before, and it got time for them to submit their application on Grants.gov, and they weren't able to submit because they had incorrectly typed in their email address in one of these steps. So just make sure, take a moment, take a look at everything before you hit that submit button. So if you're a new organization, there might be a couple of more questions that you have to answer. And it could take a week or two for you to get your DUNS number. If you are a more established organization, you'll probably get your DUNS number in a few days. Now, on Dun & Bradstreet's website, it actually says that it can take up to 30 days to get your DUNS number. We haven't really seen that before. Typically, people get their DUNS numbers in under a week. But since they're saying up to 30 days, you can see why I recommend that you get started on this as soon as possible if you are not currently registered. If you need any kind of help with your DUNS number, perhaps you're not hearing anything or you're not getting your email from them, you can call them at the toll-free number on your screen. So now you have your DUNS number. You have to wait to get that so that you can then request your System for Award Management registration. And you need to go to, in order to request that, you need to go to https://www.sam.gov. I'm showing you a lot of screenshots in this webinar, and there's a reason for that. There are websites out there that look very, very close to these ones I'm showing you, but there's one major difference. They charge you for getting a SAM number or for your Dun & Bradstreet number. These are free registrations. You do not have to pay a thing. I received a call from a woman not too long ago who was completing her SAM registration, and she said, I entered all my information and I got a screen that wanted me to enter my credit card information, and they were charging me $495. And I said, you do not need to enter that information. This is not that difficult. You can really do these registrations yourself. So that's why I'm showing you the screenshots. So these are the official sites, and so that you have a good idea of exactly what site you're supposed to be registering with. So now that I went through that, what is SAM? SAM was basically created so that organizations didn't have to re-enter all of their basic information every time they were submitting to a federal agency. It was supposed to be like a warehouse of all your information. So theoretically, you go through this process once and that's it, you're done. There are a few extra steps. You have to have the SAM number in order to be eligible for government contracts and awards. And again, the registration is free. You do not need to pay a thing to get registered with SAM. If you previously registered many years ago with the Central Contractor registration, you are automatically registered with SAM. However, you're still going to need to create an account in SAM. And there is help available to help you create your account in SAM if you had a CCR number. There is help available on their website. So also on their website, like I was saying about help with the CCR, if you had one, if you go to the Help tab, they have quick start guides and they have videos on how to get started. Those are really helpful. Remember, though, that there is the handout section over on your control panel, and I do have two resources there related to SAM. One of them is the quick start guide for registering to receive and apply for grants, federal grants. The other handout is a SAM data collection sheet, And that's just so that you can gather all the information that you need before you sit down, so that you can just basically sit down and type in data. You don't have to stop, go and look for something, and come back and resume entering data into the SAM system. So you can download those again by going over to the handouts section of the control panel. So now you're ready to register for SAM. You're going to go over and click Create the User Account. And then you're going to select Create an Individual Account. Now, once you hit that button, Create Individual Account, it's going to take you to a form page. Now, I was going to show you the form page. However, the form page, the way they have it formatted, it's incredibly long, but you're not filling out that much information. So for me to show it to you, I'd have to split it into probably 3 different screens to show it to you in its entirety. And that's really not necessary, because all they're asking you for is essentially your name, your email address. Again, make sure, type it in correctly, and your phone number. And then it asks you to create a username and a password. And then it asks you to select and answer 3 security questions. And that's it. You hit submit. The next step is that SAM, you are going to receive an email from SAM. And so you need to be checking your email and making sure that when you get that email that you click it open, because I believe that email that they send you is time sensitive. So once you get that email, you go back into SAM.gov and you click Register Update Entity button. You go ahead and log in with that new account information you created, and you're going to be submitting more information in order to register. And that's where that SAM data collection sheet comes in handy. Because again, you won't have to run back and forth to get information. One of the things it's going to ask you for are some of the types of information. It wants your taxpayer ID number, and it's right on that same area where it asks for your taxpayer ID number. It's going to ask you to create a marketing partner identification number, and that's called an MPIN. Make sure that you write this down and save it, because that MPIN number is used for other government systems. The other thing it's going to ask you to do is it's going to want you to create an individual or assign someone in your organization to be the electronic business point of contact, otherwise known as an eBiz POC. Typically, that person, depending on your organization, might be someone like a CFO, someone in your organization who's going to manage and oversee individuals that are able to apply for federal awards or federal contracts in your organization. So that's typically who you want to assign for the role. Again, the registration and entering all this information is going to probably take you about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the complexity of your organization and your organization structure. So once you submit all of this, it's going to take approximately 7 to 10 business days for the registration to become active. Again, they are going to send you an email. If you need any help during the process, if you have any questions about the process, if you're wondering why you haven't got your registration, you need to contact the Federal Service Desk. They are the technical assistance providers for SAM.gov. And you can go to their website at https:// www.fsd.gov, and they have information on quite a bit of information on troubleshooting the system or contact information to reach out to receive assistance. One thing to note about your SAM account is that once you receive it, you have to update it at least annually. You don't have to go in and re-enter information all over again. It's very, very simple. You just go back into the SAM.gov website and you select Register, Update Entity, and then complete registrations. So all it's doing basically is just verifying that you're still out there and that you're still interested in federal awards or doing business with the government. You also want to go in and make any updates if any of your information changes, like your phone number or something. You want to make sure the information in SAM is current. And really can't stress enough that if you do not go in annually and update that profile, you're not going to be able to upload and submit your application. So you really need to make sure that you go in and do that on an annual basis. So now you have all those registrations, and it's probably taken you a couple of weeks to get them. But now you're ready to register for Grants.gov. So all that information and all that work you did, submitting for your DUNS number and applying for your SAM and registering with SAM.gov, all of that information is transferred to Grants.gov. And now you're ready to register for that system. So one of the things I want to touch on a bit is with Grants.gov is you created and assigned someone to be your eBiz point of contact when you registered for SAM. Each organization only has one eBiz point of contact, and that person has the power to authorize others in the organization, known as Authorized Organization Representatives, or AORs. That eBiz person has the ability to authorize others to apply for grants. And they also have the power to remove people as AORs and having the ability to apply for grants. So they're basically the manager of your grant system within your organization. So an eBiz POC is not, most of them are not submitting grants. Most of them are, like I said, a CFO or someone higher up in your organization who's basically just overseeing all these various roles. For example, let's say you're a tribe and you have maybe a cultural department, and you have a economic development department and an environmental department. You might have an AOR in each of those departments who's uploading grants for that department. If you're a very small organization, you're probably wondering, gee, why do I need, there's only a handful of people here. Why do I need an eBiz POC and an AOR? Can I be the eBiz POC and also be an AOR? Yeah, you can. You can be, if you're a small organization, you can be both roles. What will happen, though, is that you'll have to go in and create an account, because remember I said AORs are the ones who submit grants. And if you have the role only of an eBiz POC, you're not able to upload grants. So if you want to have both roles, you have to go in and register yourself as an AOR. And I know it sounds kind of silly, because what happens, you go in and you register as an AOR, and then you're going to receive an email asking if it's okay that you're an AOR, and then you approve yourself. But it's just a system of checks and balances that Grants.gov has. So now you're ready to go in and you're going to register as an AOR. What you do is you need to enter that DUNS number that you got back in step 1 and hit the register button. Then you type in your information, and once you type it all in, it's going to pop up a screen like this and ask you to double check everything, make sure everything is correct, and then you're going to hit submit. And that's it. An email is going to go to that eBiz point of contact, notifying them that you've registered to be an AOR. So then the eBiz point of contact has to go log into Grants.gov, and they should see something in there that says that you have requested to be an AOR. They confirm it, you as an AOR, and you're ready to go. Until they do that, though, you're unable to submit a grant application. So let's say you're waiting and you haven't received any email notifying that you've been approved. You might want to walk over and just nudge the eBiz POC and say, hey, I submitted a request to be an AOR. Could you go in and confirm me? And that hopefully will expedite it for you, because that person in your organization is the one who authorizes you. Once they authorize you, you're going to get an email notifying you that you have been approved. So now you're essentially ready to submit an application in Grants.gov. You're ready to go. One of the first things you might want to do, and you can even do this while you're waiting for all of these systems. You don't have to be registered with Grants.gov in order to go in and do a search. To do a search, you hit the Search Grants tab, and for A&A, I just go in and in the keywords type in A&A, and this is what came up yesterday when I did that search. So what you're seeing on your screen is not funding opportunity announcements. What they are the forecast for the upcoming funding opportunity announcements. So what they do is they publish a little one-pager giving you some basic information about the upcoming competition. So let's take a look at the SEEDS, Sustainable Employment and Economic Development Strategies forecast, just so you can see the type of information that is contained in a forecast. So here's what it looks like. And it's just basically this one page. It gives you the funding opportunity number that will be assigned to this competition. It tells you that if you look down in that first column towards the bottom, it tells you exactly how many awards they expect to make for this competition. So it's only 4 for this one. Over in the right-hand column, it tells you that under estimated synopsis post date, and it says January 9th, 2017, that's the date they expect to publish the funding opportunity announcement. And again, it says estimated, so that's the date they hope to have them out. The date could change though. And right underneath that is the estimated application due date. And they are anticipating that the due date will be March 10th, 2017. So they're looking at approximately 60 days, a 60-day period that you have to work on your applications. They also indicate on here the award ceiling of $400,000, and what that means is that you can request a federal amount of $400,000 per project year. That is the maximum. And they expect to award approximately $1.5 million for this competition, and that's for the 2017 awards. So that is a forecast. So let's say you don't want to go in and have to check in Grants.gov all the time to see has ANA published their announcements yet. You can go in and click Manage Subscriptions, and you can sign up to receive notifications. Now, let's say you're a language department and you only want to see the language preservation and maintenance announcement. You can sign up to receive notification on one specific competition. But you can also go in, you have the ability to go in and actually receive notifications, for example, on all ANA funding opportunity announcements. You just go in, you want to make sure that you select your eligible applicant over there. I selected Native American tribal governments just to get this to start working. You would select your organization type. I was looking for grants. For the agency, it's going to say Department of, under agencies, and unfortunately it cut, Department of Health and Human Services, and then you want to go to a sub-agency, which is why I have that yellow arrow on the right-hand side. The sub-agency will not be Administration for Native Americans. The sub-agency will say Administration for Children and Families -ANA, because ANA is under the Administration for Children and Families within the Department of Health and Human Services. At the bottom of the screen, and I didn't show you that part because I wanted you to be able to see this part on the screen and not reduce the size too much. On the bottom, it'll just ask you for your email address, and that's it. You type in your email address and you'll receive notifications from Grants.gov on upcoming ANA competitions. And you can do this for any type of awards, or you can do it, you might want to get all awards that are eligible for Native American tribal organizations, and it will send you notifications on anything in the federal government that is awards or grants that are that Native American tribal organizations are eligible for. So this is really a nice component of Grants.gov. And it saves you time from having to keep on coming back here and searching. New this year to Grants.gov is something called the Grants.gov Workspace. And what it is it's a way for you to work collaboratively if you have a team of people assembled to work on a grant. It's a way for everyone to be working on forms simultaneously. Your information is stored. If you want to apply for grants in different agencies, or even if you want to apply for example, 2 different ANA competitions, which you can do, something like you want to apply for a SEDS and you want to apply for a language grant. You could use workspaces, and it will migrate all the information about your organization into both workspaces so that you don't have to keep on going in and entering in the same information over and over. The other good thing about it is that as you're entering it, it's validating the information that you're entering. Now, like I said, this is pretty darn new. Grants.gov likes this concept, so I believe as we go along, probably next year, a few years down the road, you're going to see more functionality added to this, and it's going to become very robust. So this is just like the tip of the iceberg for Grants.gov Workspace. If you want to find out a little bit more about it or see if it is something that could work for you, you can go to the Applicants tab in Grants.gov and then select Workspace Overview, and I have that little pink highlighter over it on the left-hand side, and it will walk you through how to create a workspace. But you can also just click, if you look in the middle of the screen, there is a video, and that's it's only a 3-minute video or so. It gives you a little overview on Workspace, and again, you can see if it's something that is suitable for your organization or not. So you might want to give that a try. Grants.gov within the past couple of years has really ramped up their assistance that they offer. There's multiple places to get help. You can go to the Learn Grants tab, and that offers many tutorials and basics on Grants.gov. You can go to the Applicants tab, and you can find a lot of information there, as well as the Support tab. Now, remember I told you I had a handout for you on Grants.gov. It is in the handout section of the control panel. It's like a 60-plus page document that goes over a lot of the information that I'm telling you about today. And it's really a nice little resource. If you want to download that, I would recommend it. In addition to the resources on their website, they have 24/7 support. You can call the toll-free number at any time, and you can also email support@grants.gov if you have any questions. And again, some of the user help tools they have are videos and user guides and tutorials. They just have a lot. They really have gotten much better at providing assistance. And additionally, you can also go to YouTube. There is a Grants.gov channel, and they left the little dot out of there, but it's Grants.gov channel. There's a lot of videos there. Some of them are kind of long, but there are a lot of videos there. And there's also, I forgot to mention it with the SAM, but there's also a SAM channel, GSA SAM videos. So you can view videos there on the two systems. So I told you I would provide you a little bit of information on the upcoming ANA competition. The following are going to be offered in the next competition. SEDS is going to be offered, Social and Economic Development Strategies. SEEDS will continue to be offered. That's a Sustainable Employment and Economic Development Strategies. That competition is really for developing jobs in our communities and or businesses. Language preservation and maintenance is being offered still, as well as Esther Martinez immersion, which is more for language nest and language survival schools. Environmental regulatory enhancement is still hanging in there. And iLead, which we started last year, that was the first competition was last year, is the Native Youth Initiative for Leadership, Empowerment, and Development. That was a very popular competition. We got a lot of people interested in that competition. Again, all of these are forecasted to be published around January 9th, and the estimated due date It right now is scheduled to be around March 10th. And again, note that I said all of them are coming out around the same time. iLead came out a little bit later last year, and but now this year they're going to roll it out with the other competitions. Note missing from this list is Native Asset Building Initiative. That is not being offered, nor is the Native Language Community Coordination, which was a demonstration project. That is not going to be offered this year. So now we've gone over all these registrations and registering for Grants.gov. I haven't even talked about uploading an application into Grants.gov. That'll probably be a separate webinar that we hold later. And also we go over the submission process in our pre-application trainings, which I'll talk about momentarily. But a lot of people say and ask us, gee, this is daunting. Can I just go ahead and submit a paper application? Unfortunately, ANA requires that you submit via Grants.gov electronic applications. If they do have a way, though, for you to be exempt from that, and there's only 2 reasons that you can request an exemption, and that's if you have very poor internet connection. If for example, when you're uploading documents, it's spinning, or timing out, dumping you out of the system, your internet is not very reliable. Or you don't have sufficient computer capacity to upload large documents. Then you can request from ACF, the Administration for Children and Families, an exemption. If you need to do that, you have to get your request in to ACF no later than 2 weeks before the application due date. They will send you a notification if they are going to accept your paper application or if they are going to deny your request. You will get word one way or the other. And if you are going to submit a request, refer to section 4.2 of any funding opportunity announcement. There is a section in all of them called Request an Exemption from Required Electronic Application Submission, and there are full instructions there. You need to follow those instructions to the T in order to get that exemption. And then you will be able to submit a paper application. You'll also find, if you do receive that exemption, you'll also find in the FOA the address and information on number of copies to send and where to send it. So it is an option, but you do have to do something in order to get that exemption and be approved for them to, in order for you to submit a paper document. So I've gone over help from the various systems, from Dun & Bradstreet and SAM and Grants.gov. But there's another layer of help available to you as not only you're trying to navigate all these systems, but also when you get around to writing your application. You can find information on upcoming trainings that we're having. You can request technical assistance or even just ask us questions by visiting our websites. And we also have our toll-free numbers there. We do have pre-application trainings that we hold after the funding opportunities have come out. So the trainings will probably be taking place starting around mid-January or towards the end of January and probably continuing through mid-February. So check the websites for pre-application trainings. They are a free 2-day training where we go over how to get your project to address the funding opportunity criteria and format it appropriately so that hopefully you end up getting funded. We also have free technical assistance. If you can't make a training, we can also take a look at your application for you before you submit and give you some feedback and recommendations. Typically, we like you to have about 75% of that application written before we start that. You can find out more about technical assistance all of the centers provide by going to our individual websites. And lastly, during the application season, we have webinars like this. And as we get closer to the application season, more and more of our webinars are focused on application development. So keep your eye out for upcoming webinars because those are all very helpful. So in the meantime, while we wait to see if anyone has any questions, again, the funding opportunity announcements are not out. They're going to be coming out, like I said, in January. If you go to our website, if you're in the Eastern region, we have actually already posted our tentative trainings. So you can take a look on our website, and it gives you the location and dates of our proposed trainings. Oh, the other thing I overlooked and actually shouldn't have is you can always go to ANA's website too. ANA's website has a wealth of information on and resources for you. Their website is www.acf.hhs.gov/ANA. And you can find a lot of information there, and also information, like I said, resources. There are some training tools already there. That's where you're going to find pre-recorded webinars. So you can go and check out the webinars that have already occurred. You can also find out about any upcoming events and trainings on their website too. Well, it doesn't look like we have, I am double checking here, it doesn't look like we have any questions today. So I guess you are all pretty clear on this. If you have any questions afterwards, feel free to reach out. Oh, we do have a question. We are a tribal organization who also has a not-for-profit and 501c3. Can we apply as both, or should we choose one? You actually could apply. I mean, there's nothing that says you couldn't apply for both, under both, as a tribal organization or as a 501c3. I would need more information from you on this, because basically you'd be competing against yourself. And it takes quite a while. Like I said, I didn't go over today how to submit a Grants.gov application, but there's a lot of time and energy involved in it. So I would have to find out, see what type of tribal organization you are in order to better answer you. I can follow up with you with an email after this, and then we can either chat or directly, and I can get a little bit more information from you. So I hope that answers your question. So with that, we only had the one question. I think we can successfully close out this webinar today. I want to thank you for attending this webinar. On behalf of the Eastern Region Training and Technical Assistance Center, thank you for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day, and I hope you have a great and happy Thanksgiving next week. Thank you.